Greetings children. This video lesson is for class 11 Cbse students. This is your first lesson from the Hornbill, The Portrait of a Lady, written by Kushwant Singh. What we are going to look into this video lesson is only the summary of the story. You have to read the entire story from the textbook and make understand with the help of this summary. This will give you an overall view of what it is about. The biographical story of Kushwant Singh about his grandma. Now we can go to the Portrait of a Lady, written by Kushwant Singh. It is for The Portrait of a Lady, Kushwant Singh, for class 11 students. Let us check the summary. The Portrait of a Lady is written in first person and is in the biographical mode. In the story, the writer gives a detailed account of his grandmother with whom he had a long association. He here means Kushwant Singh had a long association. Kushwant Singh recalls means remembers his grandmother as short, fat and slightly bent. This is the physical feature of the grandma. Her silver hair, because of the old age, she has white hair, that is called silver hair. Her silver hair was scattered untidily on her wrinkled face. Her white hair falls on her face. That face was full of wrinkles, full of crisscross of lines. She hobbled around the house. Hobbled here means to move roughly or irregularly. Around the house in white clothes, with one hand resting on her waist and the other telling the beads of her rosary. She has a rosary with her and always chatting the mantras with the beads of that rosary. Kushwant Singh remembers her as not very pretty, even though she was not very pretty, but always beautiful. His grandmother was always beautiful. He compares her serene face to that of a winter landscape. The serene face of the grandmother is compared with the winter landscape. Serene means peaceful or calm. Her calm face is like that of a winter landscape. During their long stay in the village, grandmother woke him up in the morning, plastered his wooden slate, prepared his breakfast and escorted him to school. This is the country house life between the grandmother and Kushwant Singh, the grandson Kushwant Singh. While he studied alphabets, she read the scriptures in the temple attached to the school. Scriptures here means holy books, Guru Granth Sahib's slogans from that book, scriptures, in the temple attached to the school. On their way back home, she fed stale chapatis to stray dogs. Fed means gave food. What food? Stale chapatis. The chapatis she had made for breakfast, she made some extra chapatis, especially those chapatis that are stale. Stale means no longer fresh. That she kept in a bundle with her for the stray dogs. The turning point in their relationship came when they went to live in the city. So, here the author gives us the turning point of their relationship. It happened when they went to live in the city. The reason for that is Kushwant Singh's parents settled in the city and they sent for the grandmother and their child. So they were forced to go to the city house. That was the turning point of their friendship. Now the author went to a city school in a motor bus and studied English, law of gravity, Archimedes principle, and many more things which she could not understand at all. She could not understand at all. When he came back from school, she would ask him what he was taught. Then he would say all these things, but she could not understand anything of these. Grandmother could no longer accompany him to school nor help him in his studies. She was upset that there was no teaching of God and scriptures at city school. Instead, he was given music lesson, which according to her was not meant for gentle folk. But she said nothing. For her, music had lewd association. Lewd here means indecent or lustily relation. When Kushwant Singh went to a university, he was given a separate room. The common link of their friendship was snapped. Snapped means broken. Earlier we saw that the turning point of their friendship when they were brought into the city house, and when he started going to a university college, the common friendship was snapped because he was given a separate room. Grandmother rarely talked to anyone now. She spent most of her time sitting beside her spinning wheel, the Gandhian spinning wheel with which she makes that twine, reciting prayers and feeding the sparrows in the afternoon. Half an hour she used to feed the sparrows in the back courtyard of her city house, and that half hour remained the happiest half hour in her city life. When the author left for abroad means foreign country. When the author left for abroad, grandmother did not get disturbed. Rather, she saw him off at the railway station. Saw off is the past tense of see off. To go to a railway station or bus station and see off somebody. sent off somebody, that is see off. The past form is saw off. She saw him off at the railway station. Seeing her old age, the narrator Kushwant Singh, her grandchild, thought it was his last meeting with her. But contrary to his thinking, contrary means opposite, just opposite to his thinking, when he returned after a span of 5 years, he spent 5 years in the foreign country and came back. Grandmother was there to receive him at the railway station. She celebrated the occasion by singing songs of the homecoming of warriors. So the same day when Kushwant Singh came back from foreign country, she celebrated it by singing songs, the songs of homecoming of warriors, the victorious soldiers coming back after the war. She sang songs of such themes and used an old dilapidated drum. Dilapidated means in a deteriorating condition due to neglect. A neglected and thrown away drum she found from somewhere and thumped it, along with the ladies of the neighborhood. She did all this by collecting the ladies of her neighborhood. Next morning she got ill. Although the doctor said it was a mild fever. Mild means very tiny, a very small fever, and would go away. She could foresee that her end was near, but she could foresee means see in beforehand that her end was near. She did not want to waste time talking to anyone. She lay peacefully in bed, praying and telling the beads till her lips stopped moving and the rosary fell from her lifeless fingers. She refused to talk with anyone there because the last night she couldn't get time to pray, and she foresees her end, so she wanted to indulge in praying, and she continued it till the end of her life, when the rosary fell from her lifeless fingers. To mourn her death, thousands of sparrows flew in and sat scattered around her body. Those sparrows that she had fed them during the afternoon time, all those sparrows flew in and sat scattered around her body. There were no chirping, and when Kushwant Singh's mother threw breadcrumbs to the sparrows, they took no notice of the bread. Thousands of sparrows came and spread over the courtyard, and Kushwant Singh's mother threw bread pieces to the sparrows, but they took no notice of the bread, because on the day they came not for any bread. They came to express their gratitude towards the grandma. They flew away quietly when the dead body of grandmother was carried away for last rites. When the body was taken away for the ceremonial cremation, the birds flew away from there silently.